This is Earth Soul Medicine, a space for spirituality, connection, and next-level nourishment. Let's see what comes up in this space today.
I still feel like I'm on a Sweaty Balls episode.
I feel like a sweaty ball.
Perfect. It's so good.
Okay. Welcome to Earth Soul Medicine. I'm Samantha. I'm your host, and today I'm with my mom. This is Amy. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here.
It's weird because you have so many names in our household, even in your life.
Right,
really.
true. That's true.
Gigi,
But
Gidget.
to you, I'm just mom, right?
Yes.
This is my mom. Mom.
Yeah, except when we're working on the planner, and I'm
Yes.
I'm like, Amy is co-author Amy.
Is that weird for you to say my name?
Yeah, and when I have to type in your email address because I email you things, it's Amy.
Right. Well, you can thank my mom for that.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's weird for me to call my mom by her name too. Even when I introduce her and I say her name, it feels foreign
Really?
in my mouth.
How
So I'm
often
like,
do you
wait.
say her name?
Well, I mean, anytime I'm introducing her,
Yeah.
right?
How many times do you introduce her now?
Well, when she comes to visit, I introduce her to everybody.
I'm sorry. Just for rewind for a second. She comes to visit you
Yeah.
in Maine.
Yes.
Does she drive there?
No, that's too far.
So they fly.
They fly in.
How often does she visit
She's only
you?
been once.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I've been there for 7 years. She's only come once, but I think she has plans to come again.
Okay.
Is it only once?
Can we do that
Yes.
thing where we all plan to visit each other at the same time, or do you find that overwhelming?
Do you think we've all had enough therapy
For that to exist?
for that
I
to
feel
be
like
a good thing?
I feel like you are able to deflect more in a group setting.
Oh, that is a learned skill.
Yeah.
But yes.
Also, yeah, never mind.
Okay. That's a topic for another time. Okay.
Sorry. So the first thing I wanted to ask you, because my daughter, your granddaughter, is 4.5 years old now.
Can believe it.
And it's your first grandkid. What's that like for you?
Okay. So you can relate to this now because you have a child.
Okay.
When you have a child, you've heard people say that it's a piece of your heart now walking around outside your body. That is so much truth. That is so much truth. Because before I had kids, it was just me. I didn't have to worry about anybody else. I could just be the train wreck that I was, and it didn't matter. And then you have people that you helped make, and all of a sudden you've invited other people onto the train wreck, and it's you're like, I care about you, so I have to care about me. And then you get to this stage where you have grandbabies, and you're like, there's another piece of my heart, and it's scary because you want to protect them just like I wanted to protect you. But by this stage, you realize how really silly that is. And that's all you can really do is just love them where they are. And that's what I'm trying to do. She's so precious.
Yeah, I know. I look at her and I imagine, are you going to grow up? Are you going to have kids? Because she's obsessed with babies. And I think that's a part of the development at this age.
Yeah. They all go through that. I mean, even your brother had, against your father's will, a baby doll. I mean, I don't know if he wants to. I don't know if he wants to admit that now. Sorry, son.
You mean you're welcome, son.
Right, yes. That's what I mean.
Because you're so nurturing now.
Yeah, it matters.
Yeah,
Right, it
no,
matters.
for sure.
So,
But yeah, I wonder if she'll have kids and then what that will be like too, because she'll be totally different than she is now. And you're like, whoa, just imagining you as an adult.
Well, let me tell you that you probably don't even need to play that game with yourself, because what happens is I imagined all of you completely different than you are now.
Yeah.
So did my preconception of what I thought you would be when you grew up play into the way I parented you? I just went deep on that. But, you know,
Yeah.
I think letting it unfold without the preconception would probably have been a better option.
Yeah, I was listening to this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that Chelsea recommended.
Ooh.
And the author was talking about how he and his wife had a son who, in their eyes, they were like, he's falling behind in classes and he's not like particularly good at sports and, you know, he doesn't have any friends and this is hard for him. That was like the things they were telling themselves. And so they would like be more on him, like, hey, you have to change this. You have to change to be what I think is more successful in life, which made it more rough for him.
Yes.
You know, he was like, well, now I feel like I have to prove myself or whatever. And then the dad was like, we finally collectively got to a point where we just kind of stopped. And there was that in-between time where the kid was like confused.
Yes.
Like, I'm used to you pushing me to do the sports and now you're not. Like, do you still love me? Does this, you know, like, because I feel like you tied your love to the worth of me doing these things. Girl. But after a while, it, you know.
Parenting is hard.
Dude!
Okay. Parenting is hard, and you don't know until you know.
Yeah, and you have to learn by the doing.
You have to learn by the doing.
So there's so many mistakes.
Making, cringeworthy mistake making.
Yeah. Yeah. But Chelsea was telling me, because I was taking her conscious discipline class, and I was like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could be this patient parent all the time. And even like you today, you were like, I love how you're calm with her and you go and you do the repairs. And I told you we don't do that all the time. Like, there are many times where I yell. And Chelsea was like, well, those are oops moments.
That everybody has.
And if you didn't have them, then it wouldn't fully prepare her for the world.
Girl, yes.
She was like, they have covered trees, or they'll like plant a tree far away from other trees and make sure nothing hurts it, and it'll grow up to be the weakest tree in the area. Because you have to be roughed up a bit to like gain wherewithal.
Which you hate, right?
Yes.
You hate it.
My God.
But it's the truth. And it's like, I hate sometimes how hard life can be. But then I look back at everything that I've been through and see the value that it made me who I am now. And I love who I am now. And I've not always been able to say that.
Yeah.
You know? And so I needed every bit of that crap.
Yeah.
To get here.
Yes.
But I hear you with that. And let me just say what I see in you when you parent that is just beautiful to me is the getting on her level, which is something that I didn't even know you should do until I went to college to teach preschool. Okay, I didn't even know. I had no frame of reference for that. And you are calm. And you are like, I understand why you would feel that way. And I was like, what? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I even love it when you do it to me, because you'll be like, I hear you. I hear what you're saying and I understand. I'm like, yes, thank you. Because everybody just wants to be seen and heard. Okay? So I know that my 4-year-old grandbaby is seen and heard, and it's beautiful.
I love that. Yeah, that's been a big, like, push in my therapy lately, is the validation of others. Because, like, sometimes I'll get into a conversation, like, especially with my husband, where we fall into these, like, bad communication habits, and it's like, I think before we would have said we're good communicators because we talk to each other a lot.
Yes.
But that's not it. It don't stop there. Just because words are coming out of your mouth doesn't mean that it's the right thing.
My husband, I think, feels like we're good communicators because he keeps talking.
Yes.
There's a lot of talking. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, that's a real thing.
It is.
So in one of my modules called interpersonal effectiveness is what it was called. And I was like, ooh, I could use me some of that.
That sounds valuable.
Yes. And they make you do this. Well, they don't make these. They suggest that you'd write, they're called dear scripts. So you describe the D, you express your feelings E, you assert yourself, and then you reinforce or reward after that. And that's how you like construct what you need to ask from someone.
I love that.
And so I've been doing a dear script, and there's versions of it, like depending on what your priorities are. So if your priority is, I need this objective done, then that's priority number 1. Or it can be my relationship is priority number 1 here, or my self-respect.
Right.
And so the way that you come about something changes based on your objective. And so when I have my relationship as the primary priority, then I'm adding validations in there because I want you to know that I love you and I see you and I hear you.
Yes.
And I was like, this is mind-blowing to me. So
Well,
I've been trying it out at home and everywhere.
I love it. I love watching you practice this with Malcolm. It's so cute. I love it.
I hope that he thinks it's
What I
cute.
love about your husband is he has a sense of humor, which makes him such a great fit in this family.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a sense of humor if you're going to make it. And he does. So it's really cool.
Yeah, he's the best. That was the thing I found most, like, I guess, attractive about him in the beginning. And in the last podcast, I was talking about this, how basically right when I met him, I knew. I was like, you're the one. Like, there's something here. There's an instant, like, magnetic attraction of, like, the soul, the heart. And then I remember thinking to myself, well, I'll never be bored.
Well, that's true.
Because he is just, like, full of jokes.
He is a jokester.
He's a jokester. And he's hilarious. And he's so, like, he comes off so comfortable in his own skin. Like, he's not afraid to do a silly dance in front of everybody.
I love. He's very endearing.
Yes.
I would say. That's how I would describe him. He's endearing.
Yeah.
And he's beautiful. He's a beautiful human being.
He really is. And I could feel that. Because, I mean, everybody is imperfect and everybody comes with their own baggage and their own traumas, you know, and that plays out in our life, of course. And then it's like, it's our job together to become more aware of how we are being each other's mirror.
Yeah.
So you always deal with that, but then it's just like, you're so pure of heart. I was like, you have such a good heart.
It's amazing to have a partner that you can actually say, open up, and you can be vulnerable, and you can express your needs in a safe atmosphere. And, you know, I'm sorry that we didn't have that in our home because we didn't, but I'm so grateful that I do now and that you do now.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. And amazing and beautiful.
Yeah.
And powerful.
Yeah. And you know what? And I've said I've said this to you before, that when you first got remarried or you got engaged to Chuck, I was like hurt. I was like so confused, you know, because I had moved away from you. And so we were separate for like the first time, so far away from each other. And then emotionally, we were pretty far. We were both going through some things.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and then like, Dad was living with me when you guys got divorced. So that was like a weird experience. And I was in my early 20s and I had just gotten married. I had some big feelings about that. And I look back and I'm like, well, that's hilarious because your life is so, to me, it looks so much better. It looks like you have a better quality of life and that you're happy and you have love around you and support. And so now I'm just like thankful for Chuck.
Right. Well, me too. But that was a big trauma our family experienced. Mm-hmm. So many things happening at one time.
Yeah.
Right?
All the time. Felt like my whole life that's what it was.
Well, we don't have time for that. It wasn't great. Our home life, right? It wasn't, but nobody's just perfect. And we had our things that we definitely had to work through. Mm-hmm. But that particular time is like when it finally splintered. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. It was a broken down toxic mess the whole time. Mm-hmm. But it was like, this is enough.
Yeah.
Of this. And because I had been so comfortable in my own dysfunction, I think it was really hard for all of you when I said, no, I'm done. This is over. No. And I think that my kids felt like it was a personal rejection. But I don't know that, but that's what it felt like for me. So now I'm in Maine, and I am away from all of you for the first time in my life.
Yeah. All of us.
All of you.
And Ron was not yet 18.
17. He was 17. He was going into his senior year of high school. And I was going to stay in Georgia with him until he graduated, but he wanted to come because it was like an adventure. He's like, oh, Sam and, her partner are moving. Dad's moving. And they're going to grow weed? I mean, what 17-year-old boy isn't going to think that is an adventure?
Yes.
So he's like, I love you, Mom, but I'm going. And I was like, what? What?
You're like, no, this is not how this goes.
Okay. Like, and Dad had to take Megan because,
Yeah.
Megan has some mental illness and I couldn't care for her on my own. So and she wanted to go. So he's like, okay. And so he took, it felt like, of course it wasn't, but it felt like he just took all of you and left me. But that wasn't what happened.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
So I leave Georgia because none of my kids are there. I go to Maine with Chuck, who rode in like a knight in shining armor, which he is so about. Okay?
Yes, I was going to say. Classic Chuck.
Right. He is so about that life. But then I got to Maine and I was like, I was so alone because I was also estranged from my mom because my mom's like, what do you mean you let Ronnie go? What do you mean? What is happening? What? So I didn't have my mom for the first time. I didn't have any of you. And I was just like, it was rough, sister.
Yeah.
It was rough. Plus, I was on a mission to heal myself. So I got off all the pharmaceuticals and I had been relying on Xanax to get through my days for 10 years. I never thought I was addicted because I took it as prescribed.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, I don't have an addiction. They tell me I can take this much 3 times a day. That's what I do. All right. Plus I had disc disease. So I was taking muscle relaxers.
Right.
All the time. And the man that I married is a holistic being. And I'm so
obsessively
so thankful. So thankful. So the priority was, we need to heal you. You need to figure out how to get off these pharmaceuticals. And I also smoked cigarettes since I was 14.
Wow.
And Chuck was like, I'm not going to buy you cigarettes ever because I love you. And I was like, I'm going to have to quit smoking before this man gets off this airplane to take me to Maine. So I remember having my cigarettes, and I was like, am I going to finish this half a pack of cigarettes and make myself sick? You know, because you hate to waste the $10. I'm just saying. It was
they're
a whole...
expensive.
But I did, and I smoked my last cigarette before I went to pick him up at the airport, and then I chucked him in the trash. So I also quit smoking cold turkey.
You did that a bunch, though, which is impressive.
Yeah. Right? Because
you went like year. You quit smoking cold turkey and then went years.
7 years. I quit
Yeah.
for 7 years.
That's crazy.
Until my best friend had to have a heart, what's it
Pacemaker.
called? Pacemaker.
Sandy?
And we were the same age. And her husband called me and it's like, Sandy's heart stopped and they're putting a pacemaker in. And I could not process that.
Wow.
So I looked at your dad and I was like, give me a cigarette and hold the baby.
What baby, Ron?
Yes. Yep. And so I started smoking again after 7 years because I could not process, couldn't handle the information.
Yeah, processing.
Yeah, because I never learned how to process the things.
Yeah.
I am more of a, what do you call that? I want to focus on something else.
Yeah, you want to distract.
Distract.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Which is a coping skill. And they teach you that in the skills class that I'm taking, that distraction can be a coping skill. But the problem is people never go back
That was me.
at an appropriate
I'm
time.
going to distract myself and forget about that. Forget about it.
Push it away. It doesn't exist.
Exactly. Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, so I quit smoking, and then I quit. I tried to quit Xanax cold turkey.
Oh, God.
I didn't realize that I couldn't.
They don't do that, right? Like, you have, like, withdrawals.
Oh.
Or do I
Oh,
not?
it was horrible.
Okay.
I had really itchy skin. I was, like, clawing myself
Wow.
up, and I was crying, and I was like, Chuck, what's happening? And then so he started taking me immediately to the holistic doctor, because he's like, we're going to take care of this. You're going to do this thing. So go to the holistic. And she's like, okay, you can't just stop. You've been taking 3 a day for 10 years. You can't just stop.
Okay.
So we weaned off.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm glad he took you there.
Yeah, me too. I was just having fits, and I didn't know if I was just freaking out because my whole life changed, and I missed my kids, and I wasn't talking to my mom, and I don't have any cigarettes. Like what? I remember a couple times thinking, I'm just going to get in the car and go buy a pack of smokes. I don't even know where the gas station is in the middle of nowhere, Maine, but I'm about to find it. It was a whole thing.
Oh, man.
So that was a real... I thought, am I having like a Saturn return? What is happening in my life? But I wasn't. Your brother was my Saturn return.
Oh! Well, it's all piecing together now.
But it was definitely a pivotal moment. It was like I had to choose life. I felt like I was going to die those last 6 months to a year in Georgia.
Dude, I could tell too. It was a rough go.
Oh.
And I was working close to your house at the time. And I was living with Malcolm. And I would come to visit you guys for lunch. I'd come over and I would have lunch and I'd be like, whoa, my parents are not okay.
No.
I was like, oh, this is not good. And that was like, that exact time is when Megan got her concrete diagnosis. Where you knew this is it and it's not getting better.
Right. There's no like light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, which was kind of the theme. It was like, well, everything's going to eventually get better. Like, things will snap out of it.
Right.
And that's like not the reality we were facing. So that was like a radical acceptance moment.
It was crazy, and it was I just felt like my body was shutting down.
Yeah.
Like I had been in fight or flight for 27 years.
Yeah.
And so my body was like, no, I can't do it anymore. And it was shutting down. And I was emotionally shutting down because I was so tired. And
I can't believe you made it that far.
Me neither.
Because there were multiple times where it was like your body was shutting down. And then you were able to like pick yourself back up.
Well,
for
we'd have
a few more years.
Yes, we'd have instances of where we'd gain knowledge. Quit eating this crap. This crap makes you sick.
Yes.
You know, and So we would change a lot of things, but it's like if everybody in your family isn't in on the change, it's harder.
Yes.
It's just harder.
100%.
I mean, we had one paleo Thanksgiving. We didn't do it after that because everybody in the family was not cool.
Like, where's the mac and cheese?
Where's the mac and cheese and where's the glutinous stuffing?
Yeah.
I'm going to need.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was hard. It was really, really hard. But I watched a movie on Netflix that changed my perspective on my life.
Oh.
It was called Minimalism.
Ah, with the dudes?
With the
two dudes!
These two dudes! I don't know if you've seen it. I recommend it. I'm by far not a minimalist, but I learned some valuable things from these two dudes.
Look at that.
And it was
media changing lives.
Right? It was awesome. I loved it. And it was their like catchphrase, the thing they say all the time is they're like, you can't change the people around you.
Yeah.
But you can change the people around you. And I was like, that's it. That's it. It's not just about the food. It's not about the toxins in the food. It is about the toxins in the food, but it's not just about, it's about the toxic relationships in your life. I mean, if you're going to clean up the food, you got to clean it all up. You can't heal with all that. And so I was like, wow. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to die or I'm going to live. And that's what it felt like to me. It felt like life or death to me. Or I would have never separated from you guys. I would have never. But I was like, I want to live.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to Chuck about it, he's like, all right, then let's heal you. He's like, let's heal you. But bless him, because he gave me the opportunity to heal myself. And that's what I needed.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too, because you described it as a splintering of us. And maybe it is that, and maybe it also was like a severing.
It was painful.
Yeah.
It was painful, and it was nothing we had ever done or been through. Yeah. It was hard.
But also, you had tried before. There were multiple attempts to be out of this situation.
Yes.
And so maybe that's why I can see when you were talking, when you said that I feel that that's how you guys felt about you leaving. Like, I can see you come to that conclusion because it had been attempted so many times and that it was so final. Like, this was the time that it worked.
This was it. Yes.
That you divorced. And it's over. We ain't going back. I found a new man. So I was like, wow, okay. My mom, like, for real married someone else who I had never met.
Right. Just to be clear, I did not move to Maine and then marry this man. It was a year later after you got married.
Oh, okay. Well, if we're going to really get clear, he came to pick her up and then she lived in his house for like a year and then they got married. How is this different?
I moved into his basement.
Of the house that he lived in.
Yes, because he had a daughter that was Ronnie's age. And so,
that's awkward for her.
It was. It was hard for her, I'm sure. And we had not really laid eyes on each other in 27 years.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't know.
They don't know the backstory of Chuck.
So we didn't know how this was going to go.
I'm excited for the general public to know.
Stop it. So I moved into his basement to see if we were even going to be compatible. We did not know.
Right. Because you had to be different people. That's a long time.
Yes, I hadn't seen...
And you had multiple, like, each of you had multiple kids.
Right. He has 3. I have 3. Ronnie's the only boy, bless him.
Crazy. Wow.
And he's the youngest. Yes, I moved into the basement because we did not know.
Also, Chuck was her high school sweetheart. Just so we put that out there. There were pictures of them that my mom had in her closet, and showed, I remember, what was that? It was just like a memory box or something.
No, I had a book of memories. It
Yes.
wasn't all Chuck Roy's.
No,
there was
no,
one
it was one
little
picture of Chuck.
When I'm sharing all the pictures, they're just one picture of Chuck Roy's. Okay? One.
Yeah, I think it was like a prom picture too or something
No,
like that.
it was Olin Mills, which y'all don't probably know about Olin Mills.
what that
But
is.
back in the day, Olin Mills would have these promotional specials. And they'd be like, we'll give you a free 8x10 if you come in and let us take your pictures.
What?
Because they know you're going to buy more pictures. Nobody's going to leave with just the one 8x10. So it was a whole thing to get people
Oh, this was like
in there.
before iPhones.
Yes! There were no iPhones. There was no
who
instant
wants
picture.
to buy a picture of someone?
Everybody. That's how you got them. So yes, we had an Olin Mills.
I love that it has a name. It's like a brand name.
It's a whole
picture
thing.
taking place.
But people who know. Okay?
Yes. Wow, that's
It
funny.
was an 80s thing.
An 80s thing.
Yes, 80s.
You know what, though? I love that you had me so young. I mean, there are things that I hate why you had me so young.
Well, sure.
But I love that you had me so young because you're relatively young for parents of people my age.
It's true. Like
Yes.
Chuck's parents are my mom's age. Is that right? No. Chuck's parents are older than my mom. I'm 53. My mom is in her 60s. Late 60s? Chuck's dad is in his late 70s.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's generally how that goes. Yes, I had you at 21.
even like there are some people in my life or friends that I have, and their parents are like late 60s. And I'm like, that blows my mind.
Right? Because your grandma is late.
Yes.
Nana is.
And then I'm like, these people
late
don't have
60s.
kids yet. So I'm like, you're going to do the modern thing where you wait to close to 40 to have a baby, and you mamas ain't going to be here.
Sad face.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad. You know, of course, in hindsight, would I have made wiser choices if I waited till I was older? Perhaps.
But then we wouldn't be here today.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And now we're okay. We're
Yeah.
stable. We can cope. We've healed a little bit.
Yeah, we feel, I mean, it's an ongoing. I feel like you're always becoming. You're always.
Yes, but and I would say this to myself, which I do believe is true. Like, it's an evolution, it's an unfolding, and that always happens, right? Until, like, the day you die and you transform into
Right.
whatever. But I also got some insight recently through all of this, like, trauma processing that I'm studying and learning about. And there is, like, an end to the suffering.
Oh.
Like, to the anxiety, or like to the dysfunction, or like diagnosis you may receive. Like, there is a path to an end of that where it doesn't become so overwhelming in your life.
Well, I know that. I mean, because
Well, I didn't.
my anxiety, I mean, it was debilitating for me.
Yes.
My anxiety and depression.
Yes, and look at you now.
Right. And I still have anxiety in moments of depression, but it no longer rules my life,
Yeah.
you know?
Or feels like a crisis.
No, it's like, oh, I recognize that. Oh, I'm having anxiety. And then I sit with well, why am I having anxiety? And I lay it out for myself, which I had a great therapist whom I thought was crazy at the time who helped me work through that. Like, and then, and I'd be like, oh, okay, let me walk through that. Why am I anxious? Right. Because people make me uncomfortable. Why? Because I always feel like I'm going to say something stupid. So now I just resign to the fact that I'm going to. I am. I'm
Right.
going to say something stupid.
radically accepted
It's
this.
going to happen. It is what it is. You take,
Yeah.
that's me. So you take it or you don't.
I had a therapist who I came to her and I said, I'm anxious. or I'm afraid. And she was like, say that to me. And I was like, I'm afraid. And she was like, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel relieved. And she was so confused by that. And then she was like, well, okay, I can see how you're validating this emotion within you. She was like, try this. I'm feeling afraid. Or I'm noticing the feeling of anxiety. And she was like, how do you feel now? And I was like, I feel like there's space. There was more space in it for me because I'm not attributing to my whole self that I'm anxious. Like that's became like an identifier.
Right.
Which then caused me shame.
Yes.
Right? Instead it's I'm feeling this normal emotion of anxiety or fear. And that was so helpful for me.
That's the thing also is realizing it's normal.
Yeah.
Okay, because the generation that I grew up in, we didn't talk about the feels.
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't talk about the feels. And if you were feeling the feels, you needed to go feel the feels privately.
Right. Yes.
Okay, everybody
100%.
doesn't need to know about you feeling the feels right now. Yeah. Okay, so I never learned how to recognize it. I never learned how to process it. Yeah. Therefore, I stifled your feels.
Right.
Because I'm like, what do you, no, we're not. No, we don't feel the feels out in front of everybody. And I remember later on in life, I'm like, feel the feels. Yeah. Feel it. But I had already been stifling it so much in myself and you guys. It took a long time for me to realize that's part of life. And you have to feel it to move through it. You have to feel it. I mean, you do. You can't just disassociate yourself with the feels and think you're going to be okay, because you're not. Yeah.
Really, you're not.
No.
You're not. And I see myself, because I do feel like maybe I'm at a point now where I'm allowing to feel the feels, but I'm also a mother of a toddler who has extremely big feelings publicly.
I love how she feels the feels.
She friggin' feels them, man. Okay?
She feels them. She shares them.
She really does. And often if we're like out in public and she's having a full-on thing, I'm just like, shh. Right. I'm just like, I wanna, whatever this motion is, trap you in to a cone of silence where no one can see or hear you.
Well,
and maybe that's like have protection for her. Like, I want you to have the privacy to be able to do this. But then it's like, I'm putting that perspective on you. You obviously don't need the privacy. You obviously feel totally comfortable.
She could,
she could feel the shame of others.
But she could also get stuck in this not knowing how to process through. Yeah. And so what I love the attention you do give to her in those moments. And I feel like you're giving her space to work through that big feeling. Yeah. And I am mind blown every time I watch you do that. And I was like, man, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Wish I had that skill and knew how valuable that was. Because I'm just like, shh. Mommy said shh. Okay. There wasn't, oh man, how are you feeling right now? Are you feeling this? Are you having trouble, and what can we do about that? And if you need space, that's cool. I want a tear of joy every time you do this with her.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said that, because there are people in our life who disagree with our parenting style and how we do that, and would rather us just like force her into doing things.
That's old school.
It's so old school, and I wish that people had the ability to like further their education even after they themselves are no longer a parent, especially people who become grandparents later in life.
Well, here's the thing, honey. It's if they never process through their crap.
Which is hard to do. Yeah.
And it takes commitment, and you have to really want to. But if you don't, then you get stuck in the mindset of no, we don't feel the feels.
Yeah.
Shh. I don't want to hear your feels. I don't want to see your feels. And because it makes me uncomfortable because I have not dealt with my feels.
Yeah.
So it's not about your parenting.
Yeah, right.
It's about their uncomfortableness with the openness of that situation.
Yes.
And I'm sorry for that, for you, because I remember when I was a new parent, I felt like I was getting judgment from everybody because everybody had a different opinion about how you were going to parent.
Yeah.
So I tried to be mindful of that when you had
I feel
the baby.
that.
I was like,
it was so refreshing because you were one of the only people doing that for us, giving us the space and giving us the trust that you knew we could do it right in the way that we saw fit. And it was like you were the most involved person throughout my whole pregnancy. Maybe you didn't feel that way.
Man, Maine is far away from Oregon.
It's far. But it's true. Like, you knew we were reading these parenting books. You knew all these things that we were finding out. And you would be like, wow, they didn't make those back when I was a mom. All I did was learn from the pediatrician or the obstetrician or whoever was delivering your baby. And you even we're on a call, like a Zoom call with us.
Which was fascinating.
At the midwife
I enjoyed
center.
That very much.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how involved you were in that pregnancy, even though you were so far away. But so then after all of that progression, to see you give us the space, it was it warmed my heart. Well, first of all, I was like, I have to move to Maine. I need to be next to my mom. But then it was you knew we could do it, which gave me the confidence to be like, I can do this. I am making the right choices for my family and my new child. And I'm so thankful for that. And I hope that every new parent gets that opportunity.
Well, I think it's about recognizing that I made a lot of mistakes. And being like, I obviously do not know. Okay?
What's best here?
We're just going to rely on your knowledge. Because... But I also knew what it felt like for everybody to have an opinion. And I always went with my gut. And I wanted you to do the same thing. I mean, even when, I'm going to bring this up. Okay. I never let them spend the night with people. It was a whole thing. I never let them. True. I had this fear of them being hurt in some way because of my own trauma. That I was like, no, I don't think so. You're not spending the night with anybody. I don't care. I don't care what it is. And, but all the other kids could. Right? So it was a whole thing. And I'm like, and so I would get backlash from that.
Yeah. Like from other parents?
Oh, sure.
Oh.
And then I would say this to parents and it would blow my mind, their response. Because I'd be like, no, she can't spend the night with you, but your kid can spend the night at my house if you want. And they'd be like, sure. And I was like, you don't even know me. You lost your mind. Okay.
Listen, I was such a introvert that I wasn't even mad.
You had this one friend who now shall not be named.
Oh.
But I'm going to tell you, she would never take no for an answer because she lived with her grandparents.
Oh, yes.
And they said yes to every single thing to her.
Yes.
I did not play that game.
And to be fair, we got into some trouble over there. So that made sense. Why you'd say no to that. But geez, dude, I was older then. I was
but
16.
Still, no. You were friends with her before that.
You're right, in middle school.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
And in her home, if somebody said no to her, that just meant keep asking.
Oh, yes.
In my house, that was not a thing. No. If I said no, it was no. And if you want to keep asking me, well, there's going to be repercussions for that that you're not going to enjoy.
Yes.
Okay? Because then the rest of your night is going to be ruined. No. When I say no, it's no.
Yes.
If I say maybe, it is literally maybe.
Yes.
And I'm going to think about it. Unless you ask me 800 times, then it's no. That's just the answer. It's no. It's so hard for your friend to get that.
Yeah. Yeah,
whole
she had
thing.
like a lifetime of permissive parenting.
Oh, yeah, she
Yeah,
put
I
it to
wasn't
me.
even mad about that. And I was like on Facebook Reels or whatever yesterday, and it was a pediatric emergency room ICU nurse. And she was like, I'm on my lunch break, and I'm going to tell you 5 things I'm not going to let my kids do after being a friggin' traumatic emergency room child nurse. One of them was never riding in the front seat or never riding outside of their car seat. The second one was having button batteries in your home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The third one was spending the night. She was like, I will never let my kids spend the night. She was like, you would be surprised the ways that they can become hurt
Yep.
when you are not watching them and their parents are asleep.
Yeah, and I wasn't risking that with y'all. I'm sorry. I was like, no. But I was a Girl Scout leader for 10 years. We had the
You were so
sleepovers. We
involved.
did the camp because I didn't want you to miss out because I wasn't going to let you just randomly spend the night with people.
Yeah.
So I made sure that we had those experiences, right? We had tons of slumber parties. Y'all had so many slumber parties.
It's true.
It is so
They were a
crazy.
good time. You know, you went above and beyond on party planning. And you know, I see that as a weakness in my parenting.
Oh,
Where I'm just like, I do not throw the same parties like my mom. I was like, we don't even have parties. We just bake a cake and that's it.
well, your Nana was very creative. But she doesn't like to give herself credit for being as creative as she is.
So that's where you got it.
But she made my holidays magical. And I don't know if it's just because I was the only one.
Right.
So she felt like she had to amp it up. But my birthdays, Halloween, Christmas, they were magical. And I was determined to bring the magic. when
You
I had
did.
kids.
I almost feel like I almost feel like I'm dropping the ball.
No.
Because I have a thing, okay? And I still am indecisive, and I've talked to other parents about this, and I'm like, where do we stand on Santa Claus? Where do we stand on this? Like, am I lying to my 3-year-old? What exactly? And then it's like a breaking and entering situation where someone is breaking into your home unbeknownst to you.
But you know Santa's coming. So it's different.
And also, it's tough. Multiple reasons why I think that
but
it's
that's
tough.
like,
Also,
make
what
believe.
if, because this was a big one for me last year, what if Santa comes and brings her something, and I'm straight lying to her about saying Santa brought you this? It feels weird to lie to my kid, I think, is the foundation of this. But then, what if Santa brings you something, you go tell your friends at school, and ain't no Santa came to bring them something? And now you feel, there are multiple emotions you can feel from that. One, guilt, because Santa loves you more than some other little kid, or you feel now like emboldened, like you're more important because Santa brought you a gift.
I suppose we could therapy Christmas to death. Just like you could any situation.
I'm fucking dead. The things that we do, I'm going to stop you right there, because the things that we do as celebrations and rituals in our lives are very important.
Yes.
And I also, as I progress in my spirituality, am like, why, WTF, am I celebrating only the commercial aspects of Christmas? Because we don't talk about Jesus. We probably should. But it's you put up the tree, which is inherently pagan in the first place. So like, if
Right.
we're going to celebrate something, why wouldn't I celebrate winter solstice and put a tree up then? And so it's like, I'm just buying you gifts because that's what society says I should be doing at Christmas
Well,
time.
I mean, yes, you're going to have to decide definitely what
I know,
their
I'm on the freaking
traditions
fence, man.
look like for you. I mean, but did you feel lied to?
I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Because this was a big memory
Okay.
that prompted me to even have this
Okay.
thing.
Bring
Okay.
it. All right.
And it's not even that traumatic. It's like you look back and you're like, well, that's why do you feel like that? Well, I'm not going to judge
Everybody's
myself.
trauma is different. Okay. All right.
But I was like 12 or
Okay.
something, and I had just gotten my cycle. So things are haywire.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
And then we're talking about Christmas, and you're like, what do you want for Christmas or whatever? And I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Dad. Maybe it was you. And someone looked at me like I was stupid and was like, you still believe in Santa Claus?
That was not your mother.
I'm pretty sure it was that. And it's like my heart broke. It was because now I'm entering adulthood. I have a cycle now. I'm like pubescent. I've hit puberty, right? So things are falling apart and growing in weird ways. And now it's like my one childhood, really exciting, stable part of every year has now toppled to the floor.
The things I would keep that man from saying if I could. Go back and tape his mouth.
But it's also like eventually you come to that.
Well, okay, but this was always what I said to you, all of you, when you wanted to try to diss Santa with me because your friends didn't believe. I'm like, do you like it when Santa brings you presents? You all said yes. I was like, then I guess Santa's real. And so we always believe in Santa
but
in our home.
then you guys never got the credit for buying us all this crap.
What do I need credit for buying you crap for?
That's a good question.
Okay, but I did take some of this magical stuff to extremes. Do you remember when
I remember so much. Can I list for you all the things I remember?
Okay.
Because we put reindeer food on our roof.
Yes.
Multiple times.
And the yard.
We videotaped
Trying to
dead
catch,
air.
We tried to catch Santa.
Multiple imaginary beings, like the Easter Bunny as well.
Tooth Fairy.
Tooth Fairy left a glitter trail from my window to the pillow.
That happened.
That was magical. It really
Thank
was.
you. Right? Like, what?
It was.
It was next level. It was a little next level. And you'd go to, and they'd go, my poor son would also go to school with glitter.
All over his face from
Be
the
like, the Tooth Fairy came.
Yes.
I mean, the Tooth
That's
Fairy should
hilarious.
leave a glitter trail. I just felt like
It made sense to me.
it made sense to me.
Yeah. I don't
So,
know.
I
I think I
mean-
have it must be I have a wounding with being lied to because even one of my tattoos I tattooed on myself is give me truth.
Yeah, because I pushed it. I was over the top trying to make you believe in the magic of the world. Because
Well, no. No.
you don't think so.
I think that was really nice. I think all of the magic of the holidays was great. I feel like I was in the dark about a lot of things that were happening around me.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. And then they would all of a sudden come
Explode.
to fruition. Yes. And then I'm like, wow, wish I would have known that.
But it's
But everybody's lying to me.
when you, and I thank God you're never even going to be there. But let me just speak from somebody who was in a very toxic relationship and who was already broken. That's how I ended up in the toxic relationship.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to protect you. And I tried to. But as with everything like that, it comes to a head.
Yeah.
And then it explodes. And you're like, oh. So then I'm just trying to sweep that up. Be like, yeah, let's forget that happened.
Yeah.
And let's try to go on with our lives.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I know why. I know why. For every person, I can see why all of these people lied to me.
Yeah.
But also,
sorry.
and then it was, like me lying to myself for a long time, too.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like I modeled that very well.
I I feel like everyone I had ever met up to a certain point was a great model for that.
Yeah, it's true. That's so true. So anyway, whatever you decide about the holidays.
Yeah. That's the thing, is
really
coming
fine.
to the decision of it.
And I support whatever it is.
Because we really half-hearted the Santa thing last year.
Which is fine.
Yeah, and then they have all of these, like, go see Santa. It's almost, like, impossible for you to say Santa's not real because he's in every Christmas storybook. He's in every children's cartoon ever made. And he's, like, in your local library. So, yeah. We
And
went
did you-
to go see Santa.
Did you take her to go see Santa?
Yes.
Did she
was
enjoy it?
scared as all heck. Clinged to me. Wouldn't look at him. And then we got a bag of cookies and a toy. And then she was really excited about that.
Going to see Santa was also an event in our house.
Oh, we have pictures.
I would take them out of school. I would take you out of school.
Really?
Oh, girl, yes, because mall Santa. And
We
who,
would get dressed up. We had special dresses.
who wants to go to the mall?
And she did
on the
our hair.
weekend, right? Nobody wants to go on the weekend.
to the mall.
The line's too long on the weekend. So me and Denise.
What
Denise
a 90s
was,
mom.
Denise was my best friend, and we were raising these kids together when they were little. And she had 3, and I only had 2 at the time.
Yeah.
And we'd check them, the ones that went to school, we'd check them out of school, and we'd have mall day.
I remember that.
Santa mall day.
Good time.
Right? I was...
That was a good time. We'd always go to Orange Julius, or I'd get like a soft pretzel.
Oh, the mall soft pretzels.
Yeah.
Were the best.
You know, my favorite thing about the mall is the floor.
Elaborate.
Okay.
What?
And back then, I feel like I was wearing a lot of shoes that had hard soles.
Oh, clicky click shoes.
Oh, yes. And the sound of them hitting a mall floor specifically. No other floor is like that. I don't know what kind of flooring it is, but it was tiled. Like,
was
even
tiled
if
and
you
shiny,
walk through
'cause
the
they
Macy's.
polish it.
Yeah, they polish it.
Hmm.
And it just smelled like the mall.
I was a mall rat because malls started, I'm sure, in the 80s. And I was a mall rat, and I took you guys. And I'm sad about, like, the state of malls
Today.
now. It's like, what is that sad mess there? No wonder
Yeah, it's like
nobody
you
wants
don't
to go
wanna go
there. But it was like such a cool thing in the 80s and then in the 90s. You're like, yes, we're going to the mall. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Or my mom would drop me off at the mall. Yes.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, the mall was cool. And then it was strip malls for a while.
Yeah, and I never got the draw with the strip mall.
It's not as fun, for sure. You have to leave and walk.
Outside in
Yeah.
the weather?
No.
No.
No. Who wants that? Especially in Georgia, where it's
No
friggin'
kidding.
hot.
This concludes the first part of a 2-part episode. You can catch the continuation of Sam and Amy's conversation next Friday at 3 p.m. on the air at KXCJLP 105.7 and 101.3 FM or streaming on Spotify. The video recording is always available on our YouTube channel. Be sure to follow Earth Soul Medicine on Instagram at Earth Soul Medicine Podcast and on Facebook at Earth Soul Medicine for all future updates. Earth Soul Medicine is brought to you by Veil Voyager, a mystical brand based in Southern Oregon, offering intuitively crafted plant essences, psychic mediumship readings, and all things spiritual self-care, including Portal Planner, a yearly guide for spiritual self-care covering topics such as crystal wisdom, plant spirit healing, and ancient rituals, all aligned with the cycles of the moon. Find out more at www.veilvoyager.com or on Facebook and Instagram at VEILVOYAGER. Veil Voyager. Seek and you shall find.